Robo Rumble is the best mode for gaining tokens quickly and maxing your account as fast as possible. And in Robo Rumble, what a brawler uses is definitely one of the most important things for getting the highest amount of tokens. So I want to make a new Robo Rumble tier list for you all, including how good the new brawler Carl is in Robo Rumble. So we're going to quickly go through each brawler for how good they are in Robo Rumble, what they're good or weak at, and if they're reliant on their star power. All right, let's do it. Oh, and we are not including a brawler's potential to cause an exploit in Robo Rumble because those get changed every single week, and you never know if a brawler is going to consistently be able to do an exploit or not. All right, starting out in the F tier, there are quite a few brawlers in the F tier for Robo Rumble, in my opinion. So I'm going to go through these really quickly. I'm going to say do not use these brawlers. Overall, they just have too low damage, and damage is easily one of the most important things, because eventually you just get overwhelmed by high health robots, and how much damage you can do is really important. So 24 Piper, 23 Mortis, 22 Jean, 21 Poco, 20 Crow, 19 Brock, and 18 Tara. I'm going to say all of those are F tier brawlers, and I'm just going to straight up say they're F tier. You maybe could argue for one or two of them to be like D tier because they're slightly better than some of these others, but I'm really just going to say you should not use them, and definitely do any of these other brawlers. Some of these brawlers are a lot better, so definitely don't use any of these F tier brawlers. Too low damage, not worth it. All right, so we're already at number 17, and we're straight in the C tier. These brawlers definitely usable, but they're pretty reliant on their teammates. You do not want too many C tier brawlers. You could maybe be fine with one C tier brawler and then two A or above tier brawlers, and you could have a good team, but you definitely don't want to have more than one C tier brawler. It will just not work too well. At 17, it's going to be Penny. Now, Penny's normal attack is actually pretty good in Robo Rumble because when it hits one robot, it can go through, do a lot of damage to the second one. So overall, Penny can have not bad damage. Definitely depends on the situation. If she's just hitting one robot, she's not going to do much damage with her normal attack. Not a fast reload speed, not a lot of damage per shot otherwise, and her cannon is definitely not good at all in Robo Rumble because robots are constantly moving, and if they're moving, her cannon is not hitting them. So really not great in Robo Rumble. Her star power also bad. Doesn't work that well in Robo Rumble. Maybe slightly usable, but it's bad star power regardless. So yeah, Penny, not really that great, but possibly usable. All right, 16 in the C tier is Nita. Now, Nita is actually surprisingly not bad in Robo Rumble, but is kind of reliant on her star power. If you have her star power, you can actually do decent with Nita. She doesn't do much damage per shot and doesn't have much range, but she can hit multiple robots. Probably not going to get that often, but if you have her star power, you can keep her bear alive pretty easily actually, and it's definitely really usable, and that bear can help you scout out where the next robot is going to come, and you can keep that bear alive with her star power, and that bear can help keep you alive as well with the star power. So definitely solid. Not a lot of damage though otherwise, and if you don't have the star power, Nita is definitely not that great of a brawler for Robo Rumble. At 15, it's going to be Bo. Bo, high amount of health, okay damage, and mines are okay. So Bo has a lot of okay things going for him. He's definitely usable, but he's not a top pick. He doesn't have enough reload, doesn't have enough damage consistently, and his mines are not always usable. If one thing in Robo Rumble is you don't get your super that often, so brawlers who have amazing supers are not quite as strong as you might think they normally would be in Robo Rumble. Those mines can definitely be usable because you know where the robots are going to go, so they're going to walk into them almost every time. At least they should be, unless you're just not using them very well. But since he doesn't get a super that often, he has just not a lot of great things going for him. All right, at 14, it's going to be Dynamite. Now, Dynamite has some decent potential in Robo Rumble with the ability to attack over walls. He's pretty good at taking out ranged robots. If you're playing Dynamite, that's what you want to be doing. As a thrower, he can target them a lot easier than some other brawlers because he can just attack over different robots that are in the way or over walls, and he can do decent enough damage to those ones because another thing with Robo Rumble and why Dynamite is not one of the best ones there is robots are constantly moving, and there are some fast move speed robots, so Dynamite is not going to be consistently hitting his shots every single time. Really bad versus those fast melee like mouse robots, but he can take out those range robots kind of decently, so definitely usable in that regard. 13, it's going to be Barley. Barley, really similar story. He can hit his shots definitely more consistently, of course, with an easier attack. Not quite as good damage-wise, though. And Barley got a big nerf in Robo Rumble with that super change a couple balance changes ago where his super damage no longer stacks. That old super for Barley made him one of the better brawlers in Robo Rumble because you can do a ton of damage at once to multiple brawlers with his super, and if you could group them up, it was one of the best supers for Robo Rumble, but not anymore. So Barley is definitely a C tier brawler in the current state of Robo Rumble. I'd also say he's a little bit reliant on his star power because it is definitely a good star power, and it's a good one for Robo Rumble because you're not always able to stop attacking in order to heal because robots are just constantly coming eventually, so having that star power will keep him alive a good amount longer. At 12 and in the C tier, it's going to be Leon. Now Leon's super is not, and his star power for that matter, is not usable in Robo Rumble, so that's definitely why it's going to be C tier. He has decent damage. His health could definitely be better for a close range brawler because he is going to be taking damage. So he's usable because he has not bad damage, but there's a lot of stuff about him that just makes him not one of the better options. All right, now we're in the B tier. These brawlers definitely have some decent characteristics that make them a not bad choice on any team, but probably not one of the best choices. At number 11 in the B tier, it's going to be Shelly. So Shelly, as a shotgun brawler, is always going to have a lot of situations where she's going to be able to get a lot of damage. I mean, there's 2 melee robots, so she is going to be able to get a lot of close range action where she can maximize her damage. And of course, her super applies for that as well, and she can hit multiple robots with her super, and if you do have her star power, she can slow them down as well. Not that important to have her star power with Shelly, though. But she's a solid brawler. You might wish she had a little bit faster reload speed, but and maybe a little bit more health too for that matter. But she's a decent amount of health, decent amount of damage, and other solid characteristics, so she's definitely a not bad choice for Robo. At 10, it's gonna be the new brawler Carl. Now, if you can take advantage of walls in Robo Rumble, you can have a solid amount of damage with Carl. On top of that, he can hit multiple robots, so it's definitely a solid thing. And he's also got high amount of health, which is another good characteristic for Robo Rumble. Now, if you're not hitting walls that often with Carl, you're going to have a pretty slow amount of damage, and that's where he's not one of the better options. You really need to be utilizing walls a lot and getting a really quick reload speed with Carl to make him really good. If you can do that consistently, he can be a really solid brawler, but walls end up getting taken down a lot with the robot boss who shoots down walls, and you might have a brawler on your team that also takes down walls as well. So Carl, definitely a not bad option, but there are definitely better ones. At 9 in the B tier, it's going to be Spike. Now, Spike can definitely have solid damage, and he has a super that can hit multiple robots and slow them down, which can be useful. But he's got really low health, and his reload speed is kind of slow, so he's not dishing out quite as much damage as you would want. He can get 2-shot by some of those ranged robots later on because his health is so low. Yeah, he can heal himself up a little bit with his super too, so he can get some extra value if you have a star power. He's definitely a not bad choice, but as far as a ranged brawler that you're going to use for damage, there are definitely better ones. 8 and in the B tier, it's going to be Daryl. Now, Daryl is a little bit reliant on his star power. It's a really solid star power for Daryl. You can use that, though, if you have it, to roll in on ranged robots and get them more quickly, because those ones are honestly the most troubling robots, I would say, because they're the ones that cause the highest amount of damage, I think. Although also the really high health robots are also a pain to deal with. But Daryl can roll in on those if you have a star power and kill those a little bit easier than some other robots. He does pretty good damage too if you're hitting all of your shots, so that's definitely a solid thing with Daryl. High amount of health, shotgun brawler, he has some good things going for him, but if you don't have his star power, he's going to be dying a lot more than you would like, and those rolls are not nearly as useful otherwise. Alright, now we're in the A tier. Now these are really solid brawlers in Robo Rumble, definitely good on the majority of teams. Team comp still matters a little bit, but otherwise these are really solid brawlers to use. And if you're playing with randoms, I'm definitely going to recommend you use one of these 7 brawlers. All right, at number 7, A tier, it's going to be El Primo. El Primo, not relying on his star power, high amount of health, can technically hit multiple robots, but it's really not going to happen that often since robots are randomly coming from different directions all the time. Not always going to have that many robots grouped up. So, solid amount of damage, really fast reload speed, really high amount of health. His super a little bit more useful than some of the other tank supers because he can target it a little bit better. But you might wish he had a little bit better damage sometimes. He's definitely a really solid brawler though because he has a really fast reload speed and a high amount of health. At 6, it's going to be Jessie. Now Jessie is definitely reliant on her star power. She's solid without it. Definitely a B tier brawler without her star power. maybe arguably A tier, probably not though in my opinion. With her star power, you can use that in a lot of different ways. Of course, you can keep your turret alive and deal with robots a little bit easier, but you can also use this star power to scout out where the next robot is going to come as soon as the wave starts after you kill the robots. This is a really solid ability with Jessie, because if you kill all the robots and you want to know where the next robot is, it's really good because in Robo Rumble you start getting overwhelmed. So if you can start attacking the robots sooner than you would otherwise, that's really good. So you can start figure out where the next robot is coming from and start attacking that as soon as possible if you have her star power. Regardless though, Jessie's a solid brawler, can eventually hit multiple brawlers hit multiple robots at the same time with her bounce ability, and her turret is decent regardless of her star power. At number 5 in the A tier is going to be Colt. Now, damage, one of the most important things in Robo Rumble, and that is basically all Colt is good at. He's got a ton of damage, but his super, sometimes you're going to get multiple robots who group up, and Colt can hit those to 2 or more robots at the same time, and that's a really good thing to be able to do. Also, long range super can work really well versus the boss as well. Not reliant on a star power. It helps a little bit because it'll help you dodge and get away from different robots a little bit better. Keep you alive a little bit longer. Not very reliant on it though, not needed. Definitely the highest thing is just having as much damage as possible, so you want them at hopefully level 9 if you can. That way you can do the highest amount of damage. At 4 in the A tier, it's going to be Rico. Rico is a little bit reliant on his star power. It might vary depending on the map, but a lot of Robo Rumble maps have really good walls for Rico to get nice bounce shots. So Rico is good regardless of his star power because you can still have a good amount of damage and you can use that bounce ability to reach robos a little bit sooner than you might otherwise. But of course, that star power adds more damage, so it's definitely a really good star power to have, and it makes you go a little bit faster, which is not too bad. Super really good anyways. He is a little bit low health, so you definitely want to have like a Pam on your team so you can use that turret to stay alive a little bit longer, because otherwise he's not going to be a very high survivability brawler, even though he does good damage. All right, now in the top 3, my 3rd best brawler for Robo Rumble, it's gonna be Frank. Frank, a really solid brawler in Robo Rumble, not relying on star power. In fact, it doesn't work at all in Robo Rumble. I really wish it did because that would be really useful, being able to do more damage. Fortunately, it doesn't, but regardless, he's a really high health brawler, can hit multiple robots pretty easily, which is a really solid thing to do because he's got a wide attack. His super, really solid Robo Rumble, long range, hit multiple brawlers or multiple robots, and he can stun the boss too, which is a really good thing to have. So Frank, really, really good. Fast real speed, can just spam out shots, keep that high health alive. Really solid brawler. Definitely recommend him in Robo Rumble. At number 2, it's going to be Bull. Bull is definitely somewhat reliant on a star power, as it is a solid one to have in Robo Rumble. You're gonna get low health a decent amount of times, and being able to dish out more damage, always really important because he does a lot of damage per shot, so it's definitely solid. Now, without his star power, he's still a solid brawler in Robo Rumble, but I'd probably pick Frank over him if you don't have a star power, or you could pick El Primo, another solid option. But Bull, high amount of health, high amount of damage in close range. His super, not that usable, but you can use it to get to the boss a little bit quicker. And that's probably the only time I would use Bull's super, because otherwise, if you're using it into robots, you're just going to be taking more damage than you're really going to be gaining by using it. Now, there's only one S tier brawler, and the number 1 brawler in Robo Rumble, it's going to be Pam. I recommend you have a Pam on every single team, every single time you play Robo Rumble. If you want a brawler to play with randoms, I will definitely recommend Pam as my top choice, although any of the A tier brawlers are definitely a good brawler to play with randoms too. But Pam's healing station, high amount of damage, high amount of health, makes her really, really usable, really solid in Robo Rumble. Definitely one of the most important brawlers to have on your team. It's going to be a Pam. High amount of damage, as I said, and that healing station is definitely probably the most important thing because you're not always able to heal in Robo Rumble, so just having a station that can allow you to heal even if you don't have time to stop attacking is going to help keep you alive and just win in so many different situations. It also makes taking on the boss so much easier. Having that extra healing is so clutch, and Pam is definitely my top choice in Robo Rumble. Check out the best overall brawlers in that video right over there. That's going to be it for today's video though. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you later.